when we start off whatever the ambient temperature is here on the ground, as we go up, generally speaking, we lose about 2 degrees per 1,000 feet, which is great because it cools off a little bit, particularly thinking about Houston here where we're starting off often at 90 degrees. Now, anywhere below about 3,000 feet, you're going to encounter a phenomenon which is basically these rising columns of air coming off of objects like concrete and big buildings that are trapping that heat. So we end up having really a pretty bumpy ride down at the lower altitudes because we may be traversing an area which initially is a lot of concrete, such as an urban area, and then the next thing you know, you have a pocket of trees or foliage which are not causing as much of a rising column of air, and so we're bouncing around, particularly when we're coming in for a landing.
Since you're up in the sky, closer to the sun, do you ever have to worry about getting blinded by the sun whenever you're flying? I know the aviators are a popular pilot fashion trend. Does that ever occur to you where you have to really watch out for your eyes?
You absolutely do. It seems like it's a minor point, but it's really not. If you're blinded, particularly on a short final, this is a significant issue. So we do always wear our sunglasses, and I appreciate that they're somewhat fashionable, but at the end of the day, they're a tool more than anything else. And you'll see pilots wearing them even on cloudy days because we do have a lot of times glare and things like that. We want to mitigate. We want to be in the safest possible environment we can be. So it is a consideration, and there are times when you may even consider an alternate runway because maybe you're going right into the sun on a landing.
What other factors will cause a last-minute change in plans whenever landing?
One that people don't think about, if you look out at the actual acreage that an airport is, there's wildlife out here sometimes.
I was about to say that. I was like, yeah, there are gators crossing the runway.
We have seen all kinds of unusual things. I've been on short final when all of a sudden there's a turtle and a couple of those making their way across, and that's going to cause a rejected landing. I've seen deer cross. I've seen all kinds of animals moving around, and yeah, that's one of those things you got to keep an eye on and be ready for.
You are at the level where birds are flying. Have you ever encountered wildlife in the sky, not only on the runway, but also in the air?
All the time. All the time we see the birds up there. It's a very rare phenomenon that you have a bird strike, as we call it. In other words, the bird and the plane make contact. Very, very rare. Generally speaking, what I always tell my students is the birds know how to fly just fine. Don't try to stay out of their way or do anything. You just carry on. The birds will duck and dive away.
Pull back harder, Kosa tells me, as I come in for the landing. That's right.
I landed the plane.
Definitely a day of working in the weather to remember.